As part of our ongoing hashtag Stop Citizen Abuse campaign, we at the Institute of Race Relations have been looking for communities who've taken issues such as failing infrastructure into their own hands. And we came across an article in a small community newspaper about the community at Weltevredenpark, who, using nearly a ton of tar, fixed their own potholes. So my colleagues and I have come to speak to Dave Baxter of the Panorama Residents Association to hear more about how they as a community came together and how they did it. So what are the main objectives of Panorama Residents Association?
We want to go back to what an old suburb was like, where it is safe for children to play in the streets. The streets are safe to drive on, where your public areas are kept clean and open, where people can actually go for a picnic, where you actually know who your neighbours are. We're living in a community with high walls. We're dead scared of criminals and stuff like that. Nobody knows their neighbour's name. Through the Residents Association, we have got to know our neighbours. We've got to know, somebody can say, a Jack Russell is out in Softball Street. And I'll send a message to SIPA and I'll say, SIPA, your Jack Russell's out again. Getting it back to people aren't living in little cocoons. We are there to help each other.
What are some of the main issues that you have in your community and your area in terms of infrastructure and general safety?
The main issues, number one, is there's a lack of police visibility. There's a lack of JMPD doing their job in policing bylaw, people breaking the bylaws, and general traffic control. I mean, the speeds people travel are scary, and drunken driving and stuff like that. And then with city parks not doing their job in cleaning up, they appoint subcontractors, but nobody supervises the subcontractors. The grass up there has been lying there for about 3 months. JRA do not do anything. You can have potholes for months on busy roads. There's an F46 water pipeline project it's a Rand water project, came through this area. Yes, we spend weeks without electricity. We spend, on and off without electricity, without fibre, without water, because they broke everything. The project was supposed to be about a year. It went on for 3 years. Roads were closed. Infrastructure damage. The substation started subsiding. And I don't even think there's water flowing through that pipeline. People are just not doing their jobs. There was no follow-up. If you travel down the road that they resurface. It's also like these big dippers, where the road's collapsing.
And in terms of the municipality responding to issues that are logged, do you get responses?
No, we don't get responses. I've got an issue on my phone where we've been trying to escalate it for about 3 weeks. A pothole on one of the major busy roads where you have to physically drive to the other side of the road. And it's a busy road and it's on a blind corner. So, no, they do not respond. We've got to tell them, and what also happens, you tell them one street light's out. They'll come with one globe to fix one street light, not do the area. Logic would tell me, do all of the street lights. Yes, but the argument is they steal the globes. Well, then give them 100 bloody globes, and they must come back with 100 blown globes, or 68 and then 32 good ones. It's not rocket science, Subcontractors cutting the grass in the green belts. Monitor them. If there is a branch lying there, they will cut around it and move on. They won't move the branch because that's not their job. It's to cut the grass. They will not cut close to the edges here on these thoroughfares that go down, these drainage ditches that go down to the Klein Yexka. I mean, if you're going to do something, do it properly from A to Z, or just don't do it at all, because then we'll do it. This is Weltevredenpark. It has, well, actually 4 entrances, 2 in Weltevredenpark, 1 in Albert Road and 1 in Kreupelhout. We had a problem here where criminals were coming into the park, breaking into houses, escaping back into the park, and they had 3 basically streets they could escape into. And all security companies will respond to the front of the property. Then they've got to get around, and Murphy's Law is you're going to come this side, they escape that side. We got permission from City Parks to lock the park. We devised a locking mechanism of a pole that slides through the gate from the side here. It gets locked onto this pole, and Beagle Watch do the locking and unlocking, 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock in the morning. So designed in such a manner that they have to enter from Albert Street entrance and Weltevredenpark entrance, walk through the park to ensure it's clear, and exit in Kreupelhout, and finally lock that gate with such locking mechanisms mounted on the outside. We also had people doing drugs in the park and stuff like that. We've now eliminated that to a large extent. Another problem with the park is it's got walkways going right through that we did not know existed until we cleaned up one, and we've recently done a good cleanup on another one over there. The Northsider newspaper published an article with us fixing the potholes. Suddenly the next day after it had been made public, JRA arrived and started fixing other potholes. So we got a response out of them. Coming back to Weltevredenpark, the local councillor had arranged a meeting with the urban inspector and what have you to inspect the park not being maintained, because we got dead trees and this bloody polygamous wood borer in certain of the trees. That very day we'd arranged the meeting, suddenly there was a City Parks guy sitting on a tractor cutting the grass. Actually, 2 tractors cutting the grass. Later on in the day, everything had finished. It had been raining, it was a bit muddy. Both the tractors got stuck in that ditch, and we had to use the buckies to pull them out. Else the park wouldn't have got cut. But they pitched up because there was going to be a meeting, and the newspaper was going to be there. So suddenly there's a guy on his tractor.
Can we talk a little bit more about the potholes and how that came about?
We'd been reporting potholes continuously, and then every time we'd follow up on it, they say, no, it's been closed. The reference number's been closed. So we'd re-report, and then they might come and they'll fix 2 potholes in 10 pins in Tennis Road, because only 2 potholes were reported. So they only brought enough tar for 2 potholes. So we reported streets, and they just never ever pitched. And I had residents constantly complaining and people damaging their tyres. And yes, you're supposed to be able to claim back from the council. But unfortunately, it's a lengthy process and it doesn't happen. So we thought, well, okay, let us do something. And we bought close to a ton of tar. I kept on running back and forth with my bucky to Chamberlain's buying tar. EC Security rented a stamper, and we got together and we started. I can't say how many potholes, but it was probably close to 100 potholes we fixed. And we got to Weltevredenpark up to here, and that took a ton of tar. And then we said, no, we can't do any more.
And how much did that cost you?
Probably close to 10,000 rand.
And where do you get the funds to be able?
Members, we've had a few donations, but mainly from members' funds. The more members we got, the more we can do. But I'll tell you, we stretch those funds like they've never been stretched before. We've had business that have assisted us with brush cutters. We've now invested in one, a heavy-duty one. Businesses like the hire shop that assisted us, sponsored us. We paid the labour and the fuel to cut the reed beds before the burning season, before the winter fire.
And on the topic of fires, Dave also explained to us an initiative that the Panorama Residents Association took to identify and mark fire hydrants in their streets.
The difference that it makes.
Hydrant is something you don't ride around and notice.
Yeah.
The old ones used to be above the ground, but you don't really notice whether you've got fire hydrants or not. I mean, it never crossed my mind. And then it came up that, yes, we've got fire hydrants, but nobody knew where they were. We've got maps of the area locating the fire hydrants. So we had an exercise. Our councillor was very much involved in that. We went around, we cleaned out all the hydrants because they were covered in sand. Joburg Water did turn up for that, and we appreciate it. They tested the hydrants to see if they were in working order, and then we marked them with road marking paint. That came out of the PRA funds. And this was such a great help when we had a serious fire where unfortunately 2 people lost their lives, but where the fire department could immediately locate the fire hydrant and use it, not have to dig for it below the ground. It assisted. While it didn't save the lives, they could respond a lot quicker, and in future, if there happens to be another fire, hopefully not, it will probably save lives.
We came to Weltevredenpark today to tell the story of a community who fixed their own potholes. But what we found is a community who, despite numerous challenges and maladministration, united to creatively and innovatively find solutions to their problems. It's a testament to the power we have as citizens when we stand together and protect each other and our infrastructure. It does make a difference to hold government and municipalities to account, and to confront the issues we find ourselves facing, one pothole at a time.